Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and I want to talk about the importance of the film Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and what every Dungeon Master can learn from this film, and the narrative arcs we can use from this film in our own, in doing exactly what James Mangold did with this film. So, Dungeons & Dragons is incredibly powerful. It really is. So, it holds up a mirror to society, and it says, hey, pay attention, look at what is happening here, right? And it does something really unique in that it really does hold up a mirror to our society. So art holds up a mirror to us, right? And it forces us to look at ourselves, see who we are, and take action when we have seen ourselves truly. And, of course, this started with the most powerful mirror that's ever been held up in any piece of art, in any secular piece of art, is the alignment system. And you can see the massive foolishness of literally fools, game designers who don't understand what a load-bearing wall is, right? And you're like, oh, we can just tear alignment out of this. Tales of the Valiant, Pathfinder, they're like, hey, why don't we skip every useful, wise player and dungeon master out there and just build some theme parks for murder hobos? It's exactly what they're doing right now. It is absolutely astounding. So there's something in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny that is one of the most powerful mirrors I've ever seen any piece of art hold up to a society. And our society is failing, right? So let's get into it. So spoilers for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So there's this powerful, powerful scene in Indiana Jones' Dial of Destiny. And what was that scene? It was, Indiana Jones is talking to Helena Shaw. Helena Shaw is the new Indiana Jones. She is going to be taking up, she'll take the hat, right? She'll take the whip, and she will carry this intellectual property forward under the name Helena Shaw. But trust and believe, when they put her in capri pants and a white shirt, she had everything but the leather jacket and the hat. She'll get that a little later. But trust and believe, Phoebe Waller-Bridger is going to be the new Indiana Jones. It's capitalism, it's momentum, it's awesome, and I'm here for it, right? And the reason why is, like, Harrison Ford's literally 80 years old, man. Like, he's literally going to die soon. Like, this is not, like, this is just how science works. It's how life works, right? And Indiana Jones is too cool to die, right? So we should have Phoebe Waller-Bridge pick this up, okay? All right, so Indiana Jones is talking to Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and she's saying, and she's talking to him about his life, and he's talking to her about her life, and she's like, you're sad, you're defeated, what's going on? And he explains his son, Mutt Jones, who he had with Marianne, with Marianne Ravenwood, right, is dead because he died in the Vietnam War when he enlisted, right? And what astounded me is this was covered in many, many spoiler reviews that I watched before I saw the movie. By the way, I highly recommend watching 5, 10, 20 spoiler reviews before you see movies today. It's a new thing. We can do it. Did not exist. It is here because of YouTube, and it's a much better way to enjoy a film. And also, it's a way to go see movies you would have never seen. I watched a whole bunch of spoiler reviews on No Hard Feelings, and I went to see it, and it's a tremendous film, and I would have never seen it if I hadn't watched the spoiler. And so I think it's just a better way to experience movies. And again, it's a progressive, innovative way to enjoy art. And we are not trapped in the same cycles. You're like, oh, no, I can't watch a spoiler review before I see a movie. I assure you, you can. You'll get more out of the movie. You'll get more entertainment. You'll get more understanding of the art you're going to. So, but what blew my mind was many of these spoiler reviews were like, oh, they poochied Mutt Jones, right? And I was like, what? And they were like, Poochie, there's a scene in The Simpsons where Poochie was taken out of the show he was in And they were like, Poochie died in space, right? And there was this like, haha, like Shia LaBeouf. They didn't want Shia LaBeouf back. And so they just did this throwaway line to get rid of Shia LaBeouf, right? And that is not the case. That is not what's happening, right? This is a real progression. This is real art. This is art with stakes, right? Artist, experiencer. This is art with stakes, right? This is putting some real actual commentary into the mix and saying, we're talking about communism and defeating communism. And, Indiana Jones spent his life protecting history, and Mutt Jones spent his life, literally spent the iron price and put his blood on the, in the ground in Vietnam to stop communism. Now, why would he do that? Because he saw the horrors of communism firsthand in Crystal Skull. And these horrible reviewers don't understand the impact because they skipped through, and many of them did not rewatch. Chris Stuckman literally said he prepared for the movie by rewatching the old ones, but skipped Crystal Skull, right? Which means that you were never Chris Stuckman is not an Indiana Jones fan, right? I don't think he's even a movie fan. And I really don't think he functions as a movie reviewer, right? He is not worthy to wash Grace Randolph's shoes. He's terrible at his job. He should be ashamed of himself compared to what Grace does every day. It's incredible, right? And this isn't me just saying it. Chris Stuckman doesn't want to be a movie reviewer. He wants to make his terrible films. The problem is nobody wants to watch them, right? But he literally said that he skipped that movie, right? So there are all kinds of reviewers who skipped Crystal Skull and were not prepared for this massive beat, right? So why did Mutt Jones die? To defeat communism, which is defeated, right? That is an IRL real event, right? Communism is on the back foot, right? And yes, it always threatens, right? Putin is using the hammer and sickle right now, right? He is red murdering Ukrainians every day, right? Because he's a monster human, and he is trying to resurrect communism in Russia, right? And so, but that's the point, is literally 50,000 Americans gave their lives in Vietnam to stop communism, and they did. They put it on the back foot, they receded it, they made sure communism was pushed back, right? And they paid the iron price on the fields of Vietnam. My father served there, right? Thank God he did not have to pay his life to stop communism, but he was very brave and he served, And what do I know happened there? Nothing. He never talks about it. I only know he served in Vietnam because my mother told me, right? And she told me, your father served in Vietnam, boots on the ground, did the job, and that's why communism is not around today. And that's why America is communism free, and you don't have to read Das Kapital in your public high school, right? And that's what Mutt died for, right? And so this piece of art, Indiana Jones' Dial of Destiny, is holding up this mirror and saying, do you understand why you're free of the hammer and sickle today, right? It's because 50,000 Americans died in the fields in Vietnam, right? That's why. And this movie is saying, do you remember? Do any of you appreciate that everything you have was given to you by American soldiers who died in Vietnam to absolutely halt the progression of communism so that capitalism and America can survive and thrive, right? And I could tell you right now, from the reviews of this film, that mirror is, the people looking back are monstrous fools, right? They're not looking in the mirror and learning who they are, what everything is about, and improving, right? But this is the point. We are dungeon masters. Right now, Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen, every single person who's running that, I don't know if you're aware of this, I read that thing cover to cover, F. Wesley Snyder absolutely is commenting on the Ukrainian and the Russian invasion of Ukraine in that book, in my humble opinion, right? Dungeons & Dragons has a lot to say Like, and it's not me saying this. They're telling you flat out they are on the cutting edge of cultural, of cultural events, right? Flat out in strict statement, they're like, we're gonna stand up for this. We're gonna try to be on the right side of history. Page 81, right? Like, it's a thing, right? Like, it's important, right? And so the reality is, we as Dungeon Masters have a responsibility to craft our Dungeons and Dragons stories and to hold up the mirror. Hold up the mirror. We cannot force them to see themselves, right? But we are in a position to comment on history and to hold up the mirror, right? Gary Gygax, 1974, said, "What are you? Are you good? Are you neutral? Are you evil? What are you as a base human?" The question is marginally asked of your player character. It is actually asked of you, player, right? And also he's like, yeah, you're a player, right? And if you play Dungeons and Dragons, you are a player, right? Like, you are literally not an NPC. You're not an entity like so many people walking on this planet, right? Like, you are in charge. The rules aren't in charge. You are. That's not just for the rules in the Dungeon Master Guide. How do I know that? Because every single cover of Dungeon Magazine said Mastering the Dungeon and Beyond. D&D Beyond, right? Gary Gygax, rubber stamped D&D Beyond 30 years ago, right? Like, D&D Beyond is an echo of Gary's words, right? And we have to fight every day those who tell us D&D be gone, right? And those who ally with D&D, with those who shout D&D be gone, in my opinion, like Professor Dungeon Master. We have to stand against it, right? And so we have to hold up the mirror, right? Sometimes it fails. This movie held up the mirror to America, and it failed. They cannot see themselves. They have no shame. They have no, wisdom, right? They're fools looking at their, just Dorian Graying it in the water, right? Like, in the reflection in the water, right? And splashing it with their hand, right? But it is our responsibility. We craft a mirror, and we ask people, who are you? What will you be? What can you be? Right? And this was a huge, statement in the middle of this film, that we do not have to read Das Kapital. We are not defeated by Russian communism because of the blood that was spent on the fields of Vietnam. It halted the progress of Russian communism, right? And it's important, right? And Mutt Jones' death is a mirror to each and every one of us. Don't fail your mirror test. See yourself. Be ashamed where you need to be ashamed. Improve where you need to improve. Recognize and acknowledge where you need to recognize and acknowledge. It is important. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.